Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden. I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle and Joy, and I've seen almost nothing.
And we're here, finally, actually, to talk about the end of Kipo. We're so sorry the episode got away from us last time, but, you know, we wanted to give the ending its due diligence because it's such a good ending.
Yeah, so true. I mean, similar to the last time this happened, I refuse to apologize for any of the decisions that we've made. I think they were all great ones. And now you all just get to hear us talk even more about Kipo, which presumably is what you're here for.
Yeah. I mean, I should hope so.
You're welcome.
That's it. Don't apologize. We are good. We're so good. So, yes, we talked about most of episode 9, and we kind of left out the prom itself, because we were, it's just a lot happens. There you go. Mark it off your bingo card. And so the prom part of episode 9 to me was like this culmination of all the work that Kipo had put into trying to bring people together, and all the work she had to do personally of like, I just have to meet people where they are. Right. And these other people also have to meet them where they are. And we just have to accept that. And it's about talking, and it's about understanding who we are as people, and forgiveness. And like, it's all this complicated stuff done in the most adorable way.
Most adorable, and also mostly awkward, because I thought about this a lot as I was watching the episode. Like, none of the humans in this episode, I think even Leo and Song, check me on the timeline here, would have grown up in a time where they could have gone to school and attended an actual prom, right?
You know what? You may not be wrong. Although, unless it's the kind of thing
persisted. Yeah,
like where they had them in boroughs. Like, did they have them in boroughs for borough high schools, right?
Well, okay. So what kind of causes a lot of awkwardness is that the people who are setting up for prom, most of the people who are setting up for prom, understand what the trappings of a prom should look like. You need to come in a dress. There needs to be a promposal. There's supposed to be a performance and a dance of sorts. I'm mostly making this up from my experience of prom through American media. So I'm probably a little bit off on this one. However, when all of the mutes show up, they don't have fun outfits. They don't really know what to do. They don't know what a prom is.
Right.
And so it's awkward because they're thematically meeting each other halfway, and also awkward because no one actually told anyone else what the plan was, which is my deepest fear as an introvert when I'm getting ready for a large social gathering. Did no one talk?
Did no one tell? Like, were there not actual official invites? Was there not dress code? And the answer is no. No, there wasn't. No, there wasn't. This is the apocalypse. We don't have paper. We don't have pens.
Yeah. But see, it's funny because, like, Amelia understands the assignment, right?
Yes.
But I don't understand why Wolf does, and I don't know. It's confusing to me.
Well, why? I mean, okay, look, Wolf, I completely understand not, like, being, when would Wolf know, right? And I just have to assume.
But she does know because she decides she's going to wear a dress.
Right. And I assume that happened off screen, much like the conversation about Wolf telling them about, like, here's about my family, right? Which obviously happened off screen. So I sort of figure that. I want to know why Benson knows immediately.
Yes.
Because Benson should not know.
Benson shouldn't know. Troy shouldn't know. Dave has a little bow tie. It's adorable.
I know. Dave's outfit is my favorite. Like, I did this because this is what I was told. I was told to make it fancy, and he just shows up in a bow tie.
Just cute little bow tie. So the long and short of it is that the A team and Troy are in formal dress.
Right.
And everyone else just arrives as they are.
Yeah. And, and of course, as we've already talked about, Wolf and Scarlemagne are going on this thing of, like, revenge quest. And then they decide not to do the revenge quest. And then they come back And I think we did already talk about Wolf's outfit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my one more thing, for sure. Clearly, I'm mildly obsessed with the prom outfits. I apologize. I will apologize for that, everyone, because I've now talked about the prom outfits for probably 8 minutes total.
Well, okay, so this is the other thing. I love that you make this point also about like how do they know it's prom and like what to do, because again, the humans also come in overalls. The humans en masse
actually
come in
the burrow humans.
Yes, the actual burrow humans come in overalls. So yes, I would like to retract my statement. I don't actually know why. I don't know why some people know about prom and some people do not. I actually have no idea. I have no leg to stand on. You're welcome.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'm so glad you're with me on this, because as I was watching, I spent a good amount of cognitive effort thinking about this on top of everything else.
But and excuse me, listeners, because it has been a couple of weeks since I watched the episode, so some of my memory might be a little foggy. I'm totally not pulling it up on Netflix as we're talking and making sure I'm not lying. That's not what's happening. Wink, wink. Anyway, So yes, let's talk a little bit about the awkward, because I think we have a minute or two to talk about that. Like, you have Amy and Brad. It was very obviously like, look what you did to Brad, which understandable, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to feel this pain that I am feeling so that I can be validated and like justified in my mourning and also maybe apologize. But like, my favorite thing about this is the humans some of them kind of do apologize. Like they get around to like trying to make things nice for the other mutes and meeting them halfway. And there's this sort of
like very barely.
I know. But the thing I love more is that it's more about actions. Like the show is very firmly in the, like, yes, you can say you're sorry, like definitely say you're sorry. Like you have to actually say the words of an apology, but your actions also have to reflect that you are sorry. And what happens is that Hogue and Dogue are probably my favorite examples of like.
Okay, so you take Hogue and Dogue.
Yes, I'll take Hogue and. Well, do we want to talk about them or do we want to talk about like.
No, like Label, I love
like Label
Hogue
and the janitor.
I'll talk about anyone and everyone. I'll talk about whoever you don't talk about.
Okay, so Hogue and Dogue are sort of my favorite just because it's familial, like they are related, and like you're gonna have to correct me. Dogue is the daughter, right? Dogue.
Yes, Dogue is the daughter. D-daughter Dogue, I love that. Okay, Dogue is the daughter.
So Hogue is the father. So Hogue shows up and he's already like. And I think we sort of briefly talked about this too. He's already in cahoots with Amelia to like do something. And we don't necessarily know what that is right at the
But on top
start.
of that, he has his own ulterior motives, which are to get Dogue away from everyone else.
Yeah, to try and get Dogue to come back to the lab, to come back to Dr. Amelia, where he thinks they'll be safe. Dogue is like not having any of it. And she's just there to dance with her friends. And like
the Narharts.
And the Narharts make a return. Who had Narharts on their bingo card? The Narharts are my favorite, like one-off. I mean, I know they're not a one-off because they come back, but like they're my favorite, like one trick pony mutes.
Oh, love that.
Because they just kind of come and they sing and then they float away.
However, they are pivotal in bringing this crowd of people together.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I think that, while you're talking about Hogue and Dogue, like everything, all of the other pairings leading up to this are immediately not only awkward, but also basically result in conflict, right? I mean, first of all, we have to talk about how it's Dave and Benson versus Troy and Jamak. Because, of course, they decide to make it into a little bit of a contest.
I know.
So Dave and Benson, the original Human-Mute Alliance, versus Troy and Jamak, who claim that they are just that much more charming. And each pair goes around the party.
It's so great.
So much shade. Attempting to see how many Human-Mute alliances that they can create. So there's the Zane and Label attempt, which we can discuss later, where, no, actually, it's not Zane and Label. I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
It's Label,
it's Label and a janitor. Zane and Label are still like buddy.
Oh, they're buds.
Label was
Buds,
instantly
buds to the
looking for
end.
Zane. It was like Label was like, oh no, did the beer humans not come? Is Zane not here? And Zane's like, no, I'm here, bro. I've been here the whole time.
There's like Label and the janitor, right?
Yes.
Who they attempt to get together because they both like garbage. And the janitor's like, dude, I don't like garbage. Garbage makes my life difficult. This is what I've spent all my time cleaning up, right? Yeah. And there's Amy and someone who reportedly likes cheese, I guess, right? Troy attempts his close magic. It doesn't go well because close magic rarely does in a large party format.
Especially in a large party.
Yeah. It's just not the time nor the place. And it's not until the Narharts start performing that everyone actually has something they can agree on, which is the Narharts are lovely. And
are amazing. Are great. There's your charm. There's your charming mutes, right? Like they have beautiful voices of angels. What does Dope call them? Like my angel something? I don't even remember. Like my angel ghost sing like something.
I don't remember. I didn't write it down because she has like 3 different ways that she says it. Like sometimes it's like my dolphin unicorns and sometimes it's like angel voiced somethings. At any rate, the Narharts perform. It's gorgeous. And that's really when everyone comes together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I have to say, I think that I mentioned the first time the Narharts appeared on screen. Way back when I was like,
in the long ago.
In the long ago. I'm reasonably sure I said this is what brings mutes together. Why isn't anyone using these mutes? I guess the answer is they were on their world tour.
They were on their world tour. They couldn't make room for the for this particular show. And then, they ended their world tour and then they were like, no, you know what it was? It was like they needed to owe somebody a favor. And because you freed, oh no, what was his name?
Hyun-soo?
Yeah.
I want to say Hyun-soo.
Because you freed Hyun-soo. Now you can call on us anytime you need us kind of thing, which I think is very funny. But like the way that Hogue and Doug get reunited is Kipo just kind of walks up to Hogue and is like, but she's happy. Like, why would you take her away from this? Mm. And Hogue has a lot of trouble admitting that, yes, his daughter is exceedingly happy and she's dancing and she's smiling and she's having the time of her life. And then the daughter is like, hey, Dad, come dance with me. And she's like, I couldn't possibly. And then she's like, no, come on, man. I'm calling on you. And then he comes out and he busts out some break dancing. Yeah. And Kipo's like, that's where she gets it. And I died. I was just like, because it's like he wasn't going to love his daughter. You know what I mean? Like he just wants his daughter to be happy. Although I do love that he continues to pout as he dances. So he's not super happy about dancing with mutants, but he's not not going to dance with his daughter. So
and there we are, meeting someone halfway. I think you're right. That's a really good example of it. And, after that point in the episode, prom is just sort of in full swing, right? Mm-hmm. So Benson strikes an agreement between Label and the janitor. Trash lifts are Label's favorite thing in the world. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Troy and Benson finally getting a dance.
I know.
Because it's beautiful.
My precious boys. And including Kipo just being like, my heart is about to explode.
And the only reason her heart isn't quite ready to explode is that someone is missing. And that someone is Wolf. I mean, there's magical moment after moment after moment right at the end of this episode, which is why we couldn't just blow all the way through it in 3 minutes.
I know.
I mean, I feel like we're blowing through it now, and it's still taking us 7 minutes to talk about prom.
I know. But and then their song comes on, and she's just like, oh man. I can't enjoy it without Wolf. I don't know where she is. And and she already knows that Wolf is out on this revenge mission and she really doesn't want that. And she has that whole, what is it? The back and forth of I would say, come on, dance with me. And Kipo, no. And it's you wanna. Like she has the whole conversation, which of course they have when Wolf shows up, almost verbatim. And like, of course, making
flamingo car, which is amazing.
I know, making an entrance. Beautiful flamingo car. And like
Scarlemagne does not know how to not make a performance.
No.
An entrance. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. No, he is incapable of not making a huge entrance.
Speaking of, like, this was a super important moment for Kipo and Wolf, and Scarlemagne takes it upon himself, by the way, to interrupt the entirety of prom for his apology, which, fine, was also important. But, dude, did you have to interrupt the entire party and make everyone stop dancing so that you could grow as a character?
I know. Well, first thing he does is he's like, Kipo, you should have heard Wolf. Like, she made a very convincing argument. Yeah. Like, you would have been so proud of her. And it's true, right? Wolf made this very convincing argument that sounded very Kipo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, I think built off of that and built off of his grief, like his own grief, dealing with his own guilt of like, the tree covered in gold and like what he actually tried to do to everybody. And he, like Scarlemagne was ever going to stay quiet about that, of like, he has come to a decision and he is going to say he hurt everyone, but he like believes in Kipo's future and he wants things to be better.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, everyone really needed to hear him make this genuine apology. Like, this is what Kipo wanted him to do. Like 6 episodes. Yeah.
I know.
Which, like, listen, Kipo, it doesn't work that way, right? Someone doesn't change with a 24-hour turnaround, but he got there eventually. And at the end of the day, she was right. All the other mutes really wanted was to know that he felt genuinely remorseful for what he did. And now
And it's more, I think it's more interesting that he's really, like, look, he's apologizing to everybody, but like the humans are also in the mix of this apology who he brainwashed for like a season and a half.
Yeah, true.
And like, my favorite part about that is like, I hope, he's sort of not, like, I hope you can see your way to forgiving me as not a like, you have to forgive me, right? Like he leaves it open-ended. He leaves it up to them. And then the first person to say something is a human of saying, we can, if you can forgive us, turning to the other mutes. And it's just like, it's such a beautiful moment of like, just trying to make it right and trying to be like, yes, we hurt you, but like, we need to do better,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And then all the mutes and humans hug. And then Hogue gets the moment of, oh no, wait, maybe I don't want to hurt all these new mute friends.
Oh no, I have a dastardly plan.
Don't set off those fireworks. There's cure in them.
Ooh.
And when they get up to the sky, they're going to explode and rain down on everybody.
I don't know what I thought the dastardly plan would be. I don't know what I thought it would be, but I was surprised at the part 2 of Amelia's plan, which I think we talked about briefly a couple episodes and we should talk more about. But yes, you're right. He tells everyone, don't light the fireworks.
Right.
Dr. Amelia arrives in a dress, uppercase A, uppercase D. As established, she knows what the expectations around prom are, and she has put her heart and soul into this outfit. Speaking of someone who knows how to make an entrance, this woman knows how to make an entrance. And in classic Dr. Amelia style, is 4 steps ahead of everyone else. It doesn't matter that Hogue admitted to the plan because she has backup fireworks.
Yeah. She has a plan within a plan within a plan. She's got contingencies for days.
Yep.
And she shows up with like, I don't even know how many like people she still has on her side at this point. Yeah. Like maybe like not a small amount, like maybe 30 or 40 people. And like they're all there and they all light their fireworks. And then the episode ends. And now we can finally talk about episode 10.
Okay, yeah. Now we're talking about episode 10. Here we are. Episode 10 picks up actually not immediately where the last episode leaves off, which I really appreciate. Instead, episode picks up with Dr. Amelia putting together her killer outfit.
I know. It's such a good opener because, as you said, like, she understood the assignment. She is obviously wearing a prom dress. She is she has all the makeup at her disposal. Her hair is on point.
She's got like a little anklet. Why does she have an anklet?
I know.
Like, none of this is functional. It is purely for the drama.
I know. Again,
which is so
another
good.
person who knows how to make an entrance, and she was like, they are going to know who the hell I am at the end of this, and it's great. It's great.
I think the anklet was non-functional, or did she slip the syringe into the anklet? Was it like,
Ooh, what a good question. Hang on. I can actually check that. I can check that. Hang on.
Because she did slip a little syringe, but now I'm thinking maybe like a thigh thing would have made more sense than an ankle thing in that scenario.
So it's not an anklet.
Oh, it's her shoe strap.
It's a shoe strap. It's like she's wearing like a Mary Jane. Yeah, she's wearing like a Mary Jane shoe.
Okay.
So it has the strap across the top.
Okay.
And I don't actually know. When we get to the syringe, I'll probably know exactly how she administers it. But we don't see her holster that. We just kind of see the syringe exists, and then she walks off screen.
Maybe they decided that holster was a little too risque for a kid's show. What do you think?
Maybe. Probably. I would have kept it in, but I mean, who am I?
Who am I to say? The slit on her dress only goes up so high.
I know.
Anyway. PG-13
But yeah,
show.
so like every mute, PG-13 show, every mute in this area is at this prom. Yep. So this would be a huge get if she can like administer all this cure. Yeah. And like a huge blow.
Like every friendly mute, right?
Yes. Yeah. Ooh. Every friendly mute. It would be devastating, right?
Yeah.
So there's chaos. Some of the humming bombers fly up into the sky, and Kipo's like, no, don't get too close to the cinders, right?
Oh my gosh, the humming bombers. Like, of course they fly directly into the fireworks, just straight into them. Come on, y'all. It's okay.
Yeah, we're getting out of here. And it's like, no.
Do it.
And so, there's chaos. The mutes are running all over the place. They're trying to find cover. Yeah. The embers start falling down. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm trying to see how many, like, I know Kipo turns into the giant jaguar to like shield everybody.
And most everyone gets underneath her. And then Leo very cleverly starts telling the humans to grab tablecloths and use the tablecloths to cover the mutes. So any mute who's near Kipo gets right underneath her. Leo and the humans don't have to worry about being hit by the cure, right? So the humans are running around and covering mutes with tablecloths, and there are a couple very cute moments, like where Dave is yelling for his shield. He's literally like, my shield, where's my shield? Like rolling around until Benson comes with like a giant he's
flower.
One of the giant flower from the prom decorations. I mean, Wolf covers Mandu with her new cape, which is a nice use of the cape. And actually, then I am glad she had the cape. And
then you're on Team Cape. But only then.
Then and only then am I on Team Cape. And at any rate, the humans save all the mutes. I mean, Zane spots Label, which is so cute.
I really love this scene. And it's like, I think the first time I saw it, I got teary. Like it it really pulled together everything we'd been working towards, right?
No, me too, because going back to what you were saying, yes, we had the words, yes, we had the apology, yes, we had the we're going to try to do better, but these are the actions that we were waiting for.
Yeah. And then you get to have Benson with the prom worked. We worked together to keep everyone safe. And I love that.
Okay, but this is where, quickly, and I cannot remember, I feel like I kind of mentioned this earlier, but more as a prediction than anything else, because leading up to this, we saw little bits and pieces of Dr. Amelia's plan, where she had kidnapped that giant two-headed walrus megamute, right?
Right.
And she had taken a little bit of... She had taken a DNA sample from that megamute, right? And what we find out immediately after the moment where prom was a success is that what Dr. Amelia decides to do is create a serum of some sort that is going to turn her into a mega mute human chimera so that she is actually powerful enough to attack Kipo, which fine. But honestly, like a much more dramatic ending to the show than what I had envisioned, which was I thought that she was going to use the walrus DNA to develop a cure that's not based on Kipo's DNA. Right. So when Kipo became super, super big and was like, everyone get under me, what I truly thought was going to happen was that she would be cured.
Right. And then suddenly be human. Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, what's going to happen? Like, where's everyone going to go? How are they going to be safe? Right? Because if I don't even know what would have happened.
If Kipo is cured, then you're plots. Yeah. There wouldn't have been any cover. No, that would have been horrific, right? Like
horrific. I actually thought like Kipo was going to shrink and then everyone would be cured and it would just be this utterly devastating moment. And the show went in a completely different direction. So, yeah. I mean, which fine. Again, I'm not upset by it, but I wanted to explain my moments of panic.
No, honestly, that makes perfect sense. Like, I didn't see where the show was going either. I also didn't see, which I should have seen coming because we had seen, some of Amelia's backstory up into that point of like her putting all of this pressure on herself. I think what I thought was like, either it's going to cure Kipo or she's going to use like Greta. Yeah. Right. Like I didn't see her putting herself in harm's way. However, having watched the series a couple of times now, it makes sense for her character that she would feel like she's the one to be in control. Right. And if everyone's going to try and work together with all these mutes, then I'm going to destroy all of the mutes by being more powerful than them.
True. Like she herself is the ultimate contingency because she doesn't see herself losing. Like exactly. There's no way. There's no way that I would lose.
And it's just, I think she even says like the mission is never over. And I'm just like, oh, give it a goddamn rest.
And it's so awful because you can see it coming, right? Because of how well the show has developed Dr. Amelia as a character. Because after prom is a success and all of most of the mutes, I say most because, again, the humming bombers flew directly into the fireworks and there was nothing to be done about that.
I know.
Most of the mutes are safe. And Kipo, because she is Kipo, walks up to Dr. Amelia, extends a hand, and invites her to join them. It's just like, listen, says what we've said before, which is that they don't want the world to go back to the way it was. They want to move forward together and create a new world where humans and mutes can exist. And then classically, Dr. Amelia, like, I don't know, it's just this very dramatic
pulls
moment.
Pulls the rug out from under. Like she pulls out the syringe and jabs herself in the arm and she is suddenly a mega mute. Now, this is also obviously very different from the way Kipo experienced becoming a mega mute, right? Like this, she rushes into this completely. She doesn't even fully know, like she seems to not even really know if it's going to work. Right? Yeah. Like she wakes up in like the smoke filled room and she looks at her reflection and she's like, awesome. And then she like instantly starts trying to like squish people.
Yes. But doesn't know how to manage her body. I mean, okay. I love how how Wolf joins Kipo in the fight by basically like Ratatouille style holding on to her head.
I know.
And like,
I love that it's
figure
like
out Dr. Amelia's weakness.
Yeah. And like Wolf fully taking advantage of that whole, like she's not like centered in her body yet. Like she doesn't know how to walk with like the forearms or whatever it is that she has. Yep. Like she's all over the place. You can get her off balance, which works. For a while,
a while.
And like the end of this is so cool. Like if anyone's ever seen any like giant monster movies, like this has everything you could possibly want. Like sometimes Kipo's on top, sometimes Dr. Amelia's on top. Like this fight scene is really cool.
No, 100%. Like Wolf gets a few really good jabs in and proves herself useful. right?
Doesn't she throw herself into Dr. Amelia's eyes?
Yes. It's so good. And eventually, unfortunately, a couple of things happen, one of which is that Dr. Amelia figures out how to use her mega body. It doesn't take her long, which makes sense because she's a good fighter and she knows how to adjust accordingly, right? So then Wolf and Kipo take a moment, and I actually do think this is a great character moment for Kipo, because she hits pause for a hot second and comes up with a plan with Wolf. Right? Yeah. And what they notice is that Greta is floating around nearby. Speaking of contingencies on contingencies on contingencies, Dr. Amelia would never allow herself to be trapped in this body. And so she is using Greta. It's just that Greta is holding the cure that should be used on Dr. Amelia as soon as this fight is over. So right. Kipo agrees that she will continue, quote, distracting Dr. Amelia while Wolf goes and gets the cure from Greta. Once they cure Dr. Amelia, it'll be super easy to defeat her. Meanwhile, the B team, and I'm just going to call them the B team, has gone off.
The breakfast brunch.
The breakfast brunch. The B team, the breakfast bunch.
The brunch bunch.
Brunch bunch. There we go. The brunch bunch has gone off, plus Leo and Song. And Jamak.
And the surface humans.
Yeah.
The surface humans come back to help too. Sorry, continue.
What they decide to do is to go and fetch a bunch of Mega Mutes. And there are some pretty great callbacks here in terms of who ends up coming along. Because Label and Zane are on Beak Beak. Yes. Which is amazing. Again, we're a little bit in season whatever of Game of Thrones, where time and distance makes absolutely no sense. But
I know.
Somehow, some way, Label and Zane have gotten Beak Beak. Jamak, hilariously, is not on Rebecca. He's on Rebecca's baby. And Rebecca is chasing them. I mean, Amy, Molly, and Hogue are on the giant corgi, whatever. But Benson, Dave, and Mondu have one of the giant beavers that Dave used originally in his backstory to demolish the city.
I was so happy to see that beaver.
So good.
Doesn't he just double slap?
Yes.
And
many good callbacks.
They truly come in as this Deus Ex Machina, right? Yeah. Although, wait, do we have the Scarlemagne before or after that? Hang on, I'm checking.
Well, that's Leo Song and Scarlemagne arrive on just a different Mega Dog.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Amy, Molly, and Hogue are on the corgi. Leo
and they
Song
get dropped off, and but it's not enough, right? No. It's just not enough, and the Megas eventually leave, and Dr. Amelia is still there. She's essentially won the fight. Kipo can't even get back up. No. And Scarlemagne sees his flamingo car flying overhead, and he says a very touching goodbye to his parents.
I was going to say, in my notes, I literally have it labeled as a TV goodbye. Because he doesn't literally say goodbye, but he says the equivalent of, I don't even remember what he says. It does not matter.
It doesn't matter. It's, it's essentially that, you've always taken care of me kind of thing. Exactly. And believed in me. And
exactly.
We got to be a family one last time. That was it. And then it was and then he does a flip and ends up in his car and just attacks Dr. Amelia with a "get away from my sister."
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Leave my sister alone.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so good. And of course, he's a fly to Dr. Amelia. He's a really big fly, and she's able to swat him pretty hard. Mm-hmm. And Leo and Song try to go to where he's fallen. But this whole time, Dr. Amelia is slowly losing herself in the monster. Mm-hmm. And she's she's getting lower and lower in the water. She's still able to control it. But the monster reflection of herself, even though it's huge, is huddled and scared and doesn't understand what's happening. It's almost it's almost like the monster. It's that age old question of what makes a monster? But the horror of Dr. Amelia and what she did as a human being is like horrifying to this monster.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think it's cool that her monster self, what her monster self is doing is hiding its face. Because, you know, the way that the world is built, we've seen before, are clouds on clouds on clouds, but the ground is reflective. So
it's reflective and water, usually.
And water. So every time the monster looks down, the monster is seeing her reflection. And so she's hiding from herself because she's horrified and ashamed of what she's become. And I think it's cool that ultimately the way that they defeat Dr. Amelia is by, again, having her battle basically with herself. And if it weren't for that inner battle and that inner turmoil, they absolutely would not have been able to defeat Amelia. You know, it's like the last time. The way that they bested her last time was they took advantage of her emotions.
No,
because,
that's exactly
she
right.
just isn't super introspective in that way. So what you were saying where like Scarlemagne runs his car right into her eye, like, yeah, technically he's a fly to her and he doesn't physically hurt her, barely, right? But what he does do is he knocks Amelia into her subconscious. And then she is below the surface in what very much looks like the sunken place.
I know.
From Get Out.
I know. I had that same thought also, which I feel like this came out before
After,
that, the imagery is the same, right? Like I don't think this is anyone stealing from anyone else, just to be perfectly clear. But this is more just like the imagery is so perfect because that's exactly what it looks like.
And since Dr. Amelia is in what is not the sunken place, but my brain refuses to see it as anything else.
Almost the deep ocean, right? Like it's almost like you're just underwater of a very, very deep ocean or lake or river. And you're just like, you have a weight around you that you can't even get rid of. And you just can't get back to the surface.
Right. So her monster self takes over, which again is scared and horrified. So the monster self just runs away. The monster does not care about this fight, which is how the party ends up splitting. Right? Kipo, Benson, and Wolf go after Amelia. Wolf, by the way, has the cure in hand by this point. We can talk about how she got it later, if you would like. And
she
Leo
totally
and Song,
bested Greta, and it was great. So anyway, continue.
Leo and Song go to find Scarlemagne. Do you want to talk about how Wolf got this cure? Because I think it's pretty great.
I mean, it's such a good fight, right? Like we see them tussling. Eventually, Greta
literally, as Wolf is coming towards her, is like, no, you're the scariest of the kids.
Yes.
Which is like spectacular.
And it's just, like Greta runs away at first and then like they have a little bit of a tussle and like eventually they still sort of even out, right? Because even though Greta is, again, she's much stronger and she's got her pinned, but like Wolf is able to tell her, I think Greta says something like, Amelia told me, okay, just this one time in your life, don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
And Wolf is telling her like, actually, no, like you were the one who broke me out of my own head. Like you have your own thoughts and they are good thoughts and you should say them out loud to other people.
Right. Like, you're not an idiot.
You're not an idiot. And
as it turns out,
isn't it like promising more pancakes?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Wolf is like, what do you want? Not what does Dr. Amelia want to do? What do you want? And she wants to go to prom. She wants to go to prom and she wants to eat pancakes.
She wanted to go to prom and she wanted to eat pancakes. It's so precious. It's exactly what I wanted. But yes, so that's how she's able to get the cure because it's, again, Greta was so much bigger. She could have bested her in a heartbeat. But like, it's about, and the entire show really is about like, where are you and what can we do to get you the thing that you desperately want or need? Right.
Right.
And they don't have to chase Dr. Amelia down anymore. I mean, who's really just the monster.
They go and find her.
Monster, right? Amelia. They basically just go find her and Kipo like gently approaches her and she's still scared. And then it's like just extends a hand and she like pricks her finger or something, doesn't she? Like
I love that Dave said what I was thinking. Or, I mean, in my notes it says, hey, we were all thinking it, but I don't want to presume anything for anyone else. Dave suggests that they just leave her like this because
I know.
he literally is like, well, she's not hurting anyone. It's better for everyone because she's harmless in this form, right?
And isn't this an apt punishment, right?
Exactly.
Like leaving her in the form that she would absolutely despise another, Dave has a point. I don't want to sit here and say he doesn't have a point. Obviously, it would be too cruel to do that. So Kipo.
Well, okay. But see, my separate thought on that is I don't disagree with Kipo. I don't. When she says that Amelia deserves to be punished, but no one deserves to have their minds taken away from them, right?
Right.
Because we've talked about how horrifying that is. However,
yes,
I think that what eventually ends up being Amelia's punishment is so much worse than being in the subconscious of a megamute. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. But for the listeners, Amelia pulls the second of her little 1-2 rugs pulling moments in these couple of episodes because Kipo, again, because she's Kipo, is like, you can stay there or you can come with us, right? Like, join us. We can work through this. We can create this new world together, right? You have a choice. So Kipo reaches out a hand. Dr. Amelia picks up a piece of glass and attempts to, like, stab her with it, basically. Anyway, Mondu comes in for the win and just, like, shoves Dr. Amelia over the edge of the precipice that she's on. And it so happens that Dr. Amelia's scared and horrified alter went to a place where she felt safe, which was the old science burrow. And so who is over the edge of that precipice but Fun Gus? And so Dr. Amelia's, quote, punishment is that now she's trapped with Fun Gus until he eventually decides to dissolve her. Which likely is the rest of her life, because this is a mute who wants nothing more than to have a forever best friend.
Yep.
Do you think that that's better than having your mind taken away from you? Thoughts, Joy?
Well, better is subjective. No, but like, if you break it down, like, it's one of those things of the villain has to put themselves in the position of how they're going to suffer, right? Like, the hero can't be the one who destroys the villain. True. This is one of those stories. And I'm not saying that there aren't other stories that do the opposite. Like, there are definitely stories where the hero is, kind of an anti-hero, or however you want to put it, where the hero definitely destroys the villain. But, like, that's not what this story is.
Yeah.
The villain was always going to have to create her own hell. And, well, she certainly did it. It's bonkers to me that, like, the thing that does her in isn't that she tries to kill Kipo, right? It's not even that she, she, like, tried something and failed and, like, her anger was too strong and she lunged for Kipo. That's not it. The thing that does her in is she's so obsessed with getting Mondu off her arm because it's a mute touching her. She doesn't pay attention to where she's going. And I believe 100% she knows that Fun Gus is down there. Like, you're going to tell me Amelia, who, like, planned for everything and knew exactly what was happening to her old burrow.
Right.
Like,
no, I agree.
Right? So wouldn't you be cautious in this moment? No, she's undone by her own hatred of mutes. Right? Is there something satisfying about that? Yes.
Yes.
So I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's a worse or better punishment. Personally, I think the mega mute could have learned to, like, not be awful. But, like, Dr. Amelia would have been lost, right? There's a level of, had they left her in that state, it would have always been like an albatross around their necks, right? Because then it would have been trying to cure her if they didn't, if they didn't have the whatever, or if the cure didn't work. They would have been trying to cure her of her mega mute status, which I think is still like, and then as soon as you cure her, she's going to come after you again.
Yeah.
Right?
And, you know, because, it's like when she was...
In no world would they leave her like that.
True. And when I guess they don't necessarily know this, but when she was sinking into her subconscious, that was not like a blissful, I guess I just get to go to sleep now. That was like being in a constant state of drowning for the rest of your life. So, yeah, you're right. There probably isn't a better for her here. They are equally terrible. But what's great about the Fungus ending is that
she will eventually die.
A, yes. And B, Kipo wasn't the one who put her there.
Yeah. I mean, also, and it's Fungus. Like, no one's going to go after her.
No, because how? What would you do? They can't.
You would never go after her. So the show isn't quite done yet. There's another, 6 minutes. I mean, I love this moment with Dave and Mondu where Dave is just like, oh, my God. You think you're all cute, but damn. And then Wolf is like, good girl.
I see you, Mondu, acting all cute, licking your hooves, but you're ice cold.
Yes, exactly. And, they have this little moment to celebrate, which they should. It's been a tough day. And Kipo comes back to... goes back to where Scarlemagne is. Mm-hmm. And Scarlemagne's really hurt. His flamingo car is dead.
Yep.
And he is nearly gone.
And again, as established, he said his TV goodbye. So
yeah,
I think we kind of all knew where this one was going, which is that he's dying.
He's not going to make it. I love that his last thought is sort of and I got to be with my family, right? And we got to be a family. And he's like, call me Hugo, because that's who I've been the whole time. Mm-hmm. Right. It breaks my heart, obviously, because I love Scarlemagne so much. Mm-hmm. But I love that he's also able to be realistic and reflective and understand who he is as a person. Mm-hmm. Right. And he's able to say goodbye, which a lot of characters don't always get.
True. And I like that when he goes to this idea, of being Hugo, it's similar to what we were talking about earlier, where he's reflecting on his actions and the consequences of them. But he's also, what he's doing in that moment is he's reflecting on his self-image, basically, because the only reason he didn't want to be Hugo before is that he thought Hugo was weak, and he thought that it was pathetic to want other people, to love other people, to rely on them, and to care about them. And what he's realized is that you can be strong and do all of those things, right? That was never what was wrong with him. And that's why eventually he's able to go back and say, no, actually, I didn't have to bury that part of me. It's who I could have been all along.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so touching. And I cry every time. I hate watching Hugo / Scarlemagne die. I don't like it. But so then we get a flash forward to 5 years later.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of the end of a high school sitcom where they're flashing images of people, and it just says this is what happens, this is what happens, this is what happens, because everyone's got a one sentence little summary of where they are now.
I know. We get this voiceover from Kipo, who's got this really cool jacket on. She's walking.
Great haircut.
Great haircut. And we get news of everybody, right? Wolf's corgi had puppies, and
Troy
she's
and
working.
Benson own a restaurant.
Troy and Benson own a restaurant.
It's so cute.
That gets 6 thumbs up from Cappuccino or something.
their version of a Michelin star, basically, which I love.
I know.
And this human and mute city has come together. There's a little flash as we're looking over the city where you can see that Label and Zane have started their own gym, which is adorable.
I know. I love that. And I also love the transportation, which is, of course, Rebecca.
I don't quite understand why Jamak is the one who runs the public transportation system, but there you go. He's doing it.
There it is.
I guess him and Rebecca kind of
Mrs. Graham has her cake shop.
Love Mrs. Graham's cake shop.
I know. I love that it exists
And the
so much.
science people have gotten together to science together at the Institute. So that's Leo, Song, and the Billions
Newton
brother.
Wolves? Yeah.
The Billions brother who, still has his mental faculties.
Yeah.
For some reason,
And
they
Dave?
are allowing Dave to give a presentation. I don't know who made that decision.
He does well for about half of it, and then he totally does not. It's such a, oh boy. I do love Tad, who is a very tiny tadpole that's like in the corner of that auditorium, and then he totally screws it up.
This is so cute. And anyway, after everyone has their own separate lives, and yet, as established in the show, they all get together every year on Hugo's birthday, where they gather at a statue of Hugo, which I think my understanding is it's built right outside of what was his headquarters.
I think so. It's honestly kind of hard to tell. It's like that dome sort of area. Honestly, it might be the old Newton Wolves place.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
It's a little unclear. At any rate.
But like it's also made out of gold, I think, which I thought was interesting of just and then we use the gold that he almost killed everybody with to make a statue.
But it's different now.
It's interesting. Mondu is huge.
Yes, Mondu grew up. I get because of her tusks were getting itchy, so that's kind of fun.
And she's still small, though. So, like, at the very end, there's all the Megamutes running together, and Mondu is on the nose of the Corgi as they run, like, through the air. It's just, I love it so much. It's just so sweet. And it's a very sweet ending, and it feels very, like, it felt complete to me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was necessarily missing anything.
No, I think literally the only thing I was not surprised by, because I think that, but 5 years is a long time, is that in those 5 years, the Leo Song and the rest of the Science Institute haven't come up with a way to reverse the, quote, cure yet. And so anyone who was, I keep saying cured and I hate it, but anyone who is, quote, cured by Dr. Amelia is still in their animal form. So we don't really get Yumyan back or, any of the other characters.
Yeah, no, the other Billions brother is still just a wolf. Mm-hmm. I think, the science is kind of wishy-washy and hand-wavy anyway. I do think it's kind of interesting that they leave these animals as they are.
Yeah,
because
that was surprising to me.
It's surprising to me, too. There's a moment where, like, I would love for all the issues to be solved, right? Mm-hmm. Because that just has a feeling of symmetry.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that really likes that it's not solved. Because, like, it would just be it would almost be a shame to have these characters just, quote unquote, fixed, right?
Yeah. No,
and have it be super easy.
It's like there's a permanent reminder, right? Of why it's important that they come together, stay together, and work together as a community. Because this is a permanent reminder of all of the terrible decisions that other people, mutes and humans alike, made in the past and why they needed to move forward. So fine. It's just like, I think what was surprising to me is that every other science thing that happened in the show just happened. Right. And it was so easy for everything else to happen. But this one thing just didn't.
I know. And I thought about this, too, where I was like, right. But if you just turned a wolf into a mute, there's no guarantee that would be the same mute that you knew.
That's true.
There's no guarantee that Yumyan would return. Like, he wouldn't, like, there's no reason for him to still have his memories. There's no, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that makes sense. But he's like currently not Yumyan. So for me, it's kind of like, I'd probably try anyway.
I know. There's a moment where I just kind of look at that and I'm like, I feel like it would be interesting. Not that there is more of this show. This is like a complete show. The show is done.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that would love if like a series was, came back to visit sort of in the Kipo universe of like, how do we help them? Right. Like, how do we get to that point? Or is it just a thing that you live with?
I'm sure that Leo and Song haven't given up on finding a way to reverse this process. I'm sure of it. But,
I mean, they have to. I feel like they would have to just because they work with the billions. Like, they are chummy with the billions now. Yeah. Like, very chummy. So I'm just like, either there has been a decision to, like, keep things the way they are, or they are just still continuously trying to work on it, or they're continuously trying to make sure there's a vaccine so that a cure can never happen to anyone else who's still there, right? I think it's interesting and complicated, and I like that there was something that happened that didn't have an immediate solve.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm fine with the decision, too.
It would have felt cheap. Like, this big thing that also helped unite everybody was just, like, solved, like, snapping your fingers. I think it's time for one more things before we go to overtime.
I don't even know what my one more thing is going to be. I think we talked about so much. Do you have one more thing?
I do.
Okay.
I'm going to try to make it not sound like a downer, because it's not a downer in my head.
Okay.
But that's not always how these things come out. There's a lot of imagery in this last episode, and it's like the direction and the quote unquote cinematography. I don't actually know what it's called when it's in an animated. It might be called the same thing, but like there's a lot of very obvious, very good choices that they make for this last episode. And there are two. Okay, fine. I have two. One more things.
Love it.
Like there's like when Dr. Mute Amelia is like reaching down to Kipo. The last shot we have of the real Dr. Amelia drowning in the water is her hand is still outstretched. And like, I love the symmetry of like, even as her mind is like slowly leaving her, like she's still kind of asking for help because she doesn't have any other, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing else for her to do.
Yeah. And like, on some level, it's just instinctual. You know, if you're sinking into water, you reach up.
Yes, you reach up. And like at the same time, her mute self is like reaching out to Kipo.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, not afraid, not like, you know, this almost like solve me kind of gesture.
Yeah.
The other thing also has to do with Dr. Amelia. I love that the last push to make her completely drop control is Scarlemagne defending her sister, because it is a brother defending his sister. And that's not what Dr. Amelia did for her brother. And like, that's the symmetry that I really like. Like you let down your brother. You killed your brother.
Yep.
And you came back to the burrow and you made him a martyr and you made everybody fight in his name.
And
you are the monster.
That's gotten you. Yeah.
Yeah. And like having Scarlemagne, who was a quote unquote monster for so long and like did terrible things, still defend his family and defend his sister. Like he's never had a problem with Kipo. Like not really.
No.
Like he's just kind of been like, well, why don't you agree with me? But like, that's not a problem.
Yeah, no, it's true.
He's had a problem with his parents because they were, you know, part of the abusive system that abused him. Yeah. Like, but he's never had a problem with Kipo. And I love that it's like they were still a united front, even after everything. Right. Like, and Scarlemagne was able to do this one last thing for her, which, of course, is the thing that broke Amelia.
Yep.
And I love that. See, it wasn't too much of a downer.
That was not a downer at all. Not a downer at all. I don't really have a one more thing.
Broke her mind. It's not a downer at all.
Okay, but we broke the mind of the villain in the show. And the person who broke the mind of the villain in the show was the show's primary villain in season 1, which is always the coolest villain arc, right?
Yes.
Like, again,
correct.
I know we've said this before, not every villain deserves a redemption arc, but when you get a good one, it's something to celebrate. When you get a good one,
you should celebrate it, for sure.
And this was one to celebrate.
I also love that it's like he was pretty much still a villain up until the last 5 seconds of the show. Like, let's not pretend he didn't just try and go on a revenge quest.
Okay, but that was a villain with a heart.
Earlier that day. It wasn't even the day before. It was earlier that day that he was just about to kill Dr. Amelia.
Yeah, so true. So true. Oh my gosh. Too good. Okay, I don't have one more thing, but I'm actually okay with that.
Do you want to try and answer the question?
Ooh, no.
No. That feels a little complicated. That's fair. No, I think we can end it there. I think we're good.
You answer it. I'm not going to be the only one who answers it.
Should we answer it without saying what the question is and just make people guess?
No.
Okay, you read the question and I will answer it.
Okay,
I have to think of something.
Okay, I'll do the sign off. And then you've got the whole sign off to think about it, and then the answers can come after the ending music credits like they used to.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Got it.
So, with that, listeners, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, if you had to become a human mute chimera, which mute would you choose? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.
Have you thought about it?
I have thought about it. I'm going to go with moose bear.
Oh,
wait. Moose bear combo.
A moose bear human combo, because this is a human mute chimera, so some part of that still has to be human. Okay,
some part of that is human. Human hands.
Now I need you to explain. Oh, that's the most interesting part. Okay, so now I need you to explain which parts of the body are the bear, which parts of the moose. I said muse. Which part of the moose you would like?
So the moose is 100% the face and the head.
Okay.
Human hands.
Uh-huh.
And the bear is basically everything below the chest. Like the big round tummy.
Yeah.
The fuzzy, powerful legs.
I love that.
Yeah, that's it.
That's kind of horrifying, but it's but amazing. Because that makes sense, the hands. You want the opposable thumbs.
Right?
But then you don't get the claws.
But you get antlers that are probably about as wide as you are tall.
Very true. Okay. I don't really know what I want. Here's what I know.
That's fine.
Here's what I know. I know that I don't want anything that lives in or around the water. Because I wouldn't want to, I don't know, like being a sea creature doesn't really appeal to me.
It's fair.
And I know that I would want to be something sort of cuddly.
I was like, is it not house cat? Is it not just a timber cat? Is it not that?
Well, but what if but I would also be okay with being like a human like Rebecca chimera, because
okay.
But would I just be a rabbit with a human's face? That's kind of scary. I think what's terrible, what's tripping me up is that every version of this human chimera thing that I imagine is kind of horrifying. And I'm trying to choose which of the things is the least horrifying. And I'm failing miserably.
What if it was like Rebecca, but it was all human feet? No, that's even worse.
No, very scary, Joy. What?
What if it was, no, I was going to say, what if it was like beaver, but human face? What if it's an otter?
Okay.
But human hands, because they practically have human hands already.
What if I were simply a mega centaur of sorts?
Yes.
But like a mega moltar. Would I not want to be a mega moltar? I could be a mega moltar.
You could be a mega moltar. You could be anything you want, Danielle. This is the power of imagination. I think that's it. I think we should end on that. Thank you all for listening.
That's perfect.